Agricola by Publius Cornelius Tacitus. Agricola 1. Famous men have from time immemorial had their life stories told, and even our generation, with all its indifference to the present, has not quite abandoned the practice. Outstanding personalities still win an occasional triumph over that fault common to small and great states alike, ignorant hostility to merit. But in the past, just as the road to memorable achievement was not so uphill or so beset with obstacles, so too the task of recording it never failed to attract men of genius. They wrote without currying favour or grinding their own axe, since the consciousness of an honourable aim was reward enough. Men even felt that to tell their own life story showed self-confidence rather than conceit. Rutilius and Scaurus told theirs, and were neither disbelieved nor criticised. It is true indeed that the noble character is best appreciated in those ages in which it cannot readily develop. But today, when I set out to recount the life of one no longer with us, I had to beg an indulgence that I would not have sought, for an invective so savage and hostile to virtue are our times. 2. We have read that when eulogies were written of Paetus Thracia by Arulenus Rusticus, and of Priscus Helvidius by Herenicus Senecio, they were treated as capital offences, and the savage punishment was extended beyond the authors to their very books. The triumvirate were given the job of burning those masterpieces of literary art in the Comitium and the Forum. No doubt they believed that by that fire the voice of the Roman people, the freedom of the Senate, and the moral consciousness of the human race were wiped out. Even teachers of philosophy and all honourable studies were banished, so that nothing decent might be encountered anywhere. We have indeed left an impressive example of subservience. Just as Rome of old explored the limits of freedom, so have we plumbed the depths of slavery, robbed by informers even of the interchange of speech. We would have lost our memories as well as our tongues had it been as easy to forget as to be silent. 3. Now at long last our spirit revives. In the first dawn of this blessed age, never Caesar harmonised the old discord of autocracy and freedom. Day by day, never Trajan is enhancing the happiness of the times and the public security, ceasing to be merely something hoped for and prayed for. It is as solid and certain as a prayer fulfilled. Yet human nature is so weak that the cure lags behind the disease. As our bodies, which grow so slowly, perish in a flash, so too the mind and its interests can be more easily crushed than brought again to life. Idleness gradually becomes sweet, and we end by loving the sloth that at first we loathed. Moreover, in a period of 15 years, no small part of a human life, many have died a natural death, and all the most impressible have fallen victim to the cruelty, and all the most irrepressible have fallen victim to the cruelty of the emperor. Even we few who survive have outlived not only our fellows but also to speak ourselves. So many years have been taken from our lives, years that have brought young men to old age, old men to the far end of life's journey, with no word said. Yet I shall find some satisfaction, even with unskilled and unpractised voice, in recording the servitude we once suffered and in gratefully acknowledging the blessings we now enjoy. In the meantime, this book, which sets out to honour my father-in-law Agricola, will be praised or at least pardoned for its profession of loyal affection. 4. Gnaeus Julius Agricola had his origins in the old and famous colony of Forum Julii. Both his grandfathers were procurators of Caesars, the equivalent of nobility in the equestrian order. His father, Julius Gracinus, was a member of the Senate and won fame by his practice of eloquence and philosophy. By those very accomplishments he incurred the wrath of Gaius Caesar. He received orders to accuse Marcus Silanus and lost his life for refusing. His mother was Julia Priscilla, a paragon of feminine virtue. Brought up under her tender care, he passed his boyhood and youth being trained in all the liberal arts. He was shielded from temptations of bad companions, partly by his own sound instincts, partly by living and going to school from his very early years at Massilia, a place where Greek refinement and provincial puritanism meet in a happy blend. I remember how he would often tell us that in his early manhood he would have drunk deeper of philosophy than a Roman and a senator properly may. If his mother in her prudence had not damped the fire of his passion, it was only natural that such a fine and upright soul should be attracted strongly, if not too wisely, by the fair idea of fame in its higher and nobler aspects. In time, the discretion that grows with age restrained him. He came away from philosophy with its hardest lesson learned, a sense of proportion. 5. He served his military apprenticeship in Britannia to the satisfaction of Suetonius Paulinus, that sound and thorough general, and was picked by him to be tried out on his staff. But Agricola was no loose young subaltern to turn his military career into a debauch, nor did he make his tribuneship and inexperience an excuse for amusing himself and taking leaves. Instead, he got to know his province and be known by the army. He learnt from the experts and followed from the best models. He never sought a task for self-advertisement, never shirked one through cowardice. He was always energetic, careless never. Neither before nor since has Britannia ever been in a more uneasy or dangerous state. Veterans butchered, colonies burned to the ground, armies isolated. They had to fight for their life before they could think of victory. The campaign was of course conducted under the strategy and leadership of another, and overall responsibility and the glory of recovering the province fell to the general. Yet everything combined to give the young Agricola fresh skill, fresh experience and fresh ambition, and his spirit was invaded by the passion for military glory, a thankless passion in an age when distinction was misconstrued and a great reputation was as dangerous as a bad one. 6. From Britannia, Agricola returned to Rome to enter on his career of office, and married Domitia Decidiana, the child of an illustrious house. It was a union that lent him both distinction and material aid to his ambitions. They lived in a rare accord, and maintained by beautiful affection and unselfishness. Although in such a partnership a good wife deserves more of the praise, just as a bad one deserves more of the blame. In the draw for the quaestorship he got Asia as his province, and Salvius Titiana as his proconsul, and yet was corrupted by neither. Although the province with its wealth invited abuses, and the proconsul, an abject slave to greed, was prepared to purchase by his ample indulgence a mutual concealment of crimes. While in Asia he was blessed with a daughter, and his position was thus strengthened, and his heart consoled for the loss of a son born not long before. He passed the interval between quaestorship and tribuneship of the people, and his actual year of office as tribune in quiet inactivity. He understood the age of Nero, in which an absence of initiative proved good philosophy. His praetorship ran the same quiet course, for no administration of law had fallen to his lot. Over the games and other vanities of his office, he compromised between economy and abundance, steering clear of the extravagance, but not missing popular approval. By then, chosen by Galba to check over the gifts in the temples, and by his searching scrutiny achieved such a striking success that the Commonwealth seemed to perceive no sacrilege but Nero's. 7. The following year dealt a grievous blow to his heart and home. The men of Otto's fleet, while savagely plundering the territory of the Intermilians and Liguria during their piratical career, murdered Agricola's mother on her estate, and pillaged the estate and large part of her fortune, which was the motive for the murder. Agricola had accordingly set out to pay his last respects when he was overtaken by the news of Vespasian's bid for empire, and without a moment's hesitation joined his party. The initial policy of reign and ordering of Rome were in the hands of Mucianus. Since Domitian was still a young man and exploited his father's success only to indulge himself, Mucianus sent Agricola to levy new troops, and when he had performed that task with scrupulous zeal, put him in command of the 20th Legion. It had been slow to transfer its allegiance, and commander was reported to be disloyal. As a matter of fact, the legion was a problem and a menace even to the consular legates, so naturally its legate, being merely of praetorian rank, was impotent to control it. Perhaps he was to blame, perhaps his troops were. Agricola was thus chosen as both successor and avenger, but with a rare restraint he let it appear that he had found in his legion the loyalty he had created. 8. Britannia at that time was governed by Vettius Belanus, with a hand too gentle for a warlike province. Agricola reined in his energies and restrained his enthusiasm. Lest it grow too great, he was a master of tact and had schooled himself to temper honour with expediency. Soon afterwards, Britannia welcomed the consular Publius Cerealis. Agricola's wife now found scope for its display, but at first it was only hard work and danger that Cerealis shared. Glory came later. Cerealis often divided the armies with him to test his quality, and when he had stood the test, sometimes put him in command of larger forces. Yet Agricola never bragged of his achievements. As a mere subordinate, he credited every excess to inspirer and leader. Thus, by his gallantry in action and by his modesty of his reports, he evaded envy without missing renown. 9. On Agricola's return to Rome from the command of the legion, Divus Vespasian enrolled him among the patricians and then placed him in command of the province of Aquitania. It was as brilliant a promotion to a post important in itself as implying expectation of the consulship, for which Agricola was in fact marked out. It is as common a belief that the military men lack subtlety of temperament, and indeed martial law, knowing no appeal and proceeding bluntly to its usual summary decisions, gives no scope to the craftiness of the law courts. But Agricola, although dealing with civilians, had enough good sense to be natural and just. He made a clear division between hours of business and relaxation. When legal cases demanded attention, he was dignified and serious, strict yet inclined to mercy. When duty had its due, he had put off the official pose. Harshness, arrogance and greed had long ceased to be part of his make-up. He succeeded where few succeed. He lost no authority by his affability, no affection by his sternness. To mention incorruptibility and self-restraint in a man of his calibre would be to insult his virtues. Although the desire for fame is often a secret weakness of even the good, Agricola never courted it by advertisement or intrigue. Scorning all rivalry with his colleagues, all bickering with the procurators, he deemed it no triumph to override others, but ignominious to be overborne himself. He was kept in command for less than 3 years, and then called home to his immediate prospect of consulship. Public opinion insisted that the province of Britannia was intended for him, not because he himself has said anything about it, but because he was obviously the right man. Rumour does not always err. It may even prompt a selection. In his consulship he betrothed to me in my early manhood his daughter, a girl of rare promise, and after its close gave to me her in marriage. Immediately afterwards he received the command of Britannia, together with the priestly office of Pontifex. 10. Though the position and peoples of Britannia have been described by many writers, I am going to describe them again, not to match my industry and ability against theirs, but because only at that time was the conquest completed, where my predecessors adorned with their guesses with grace and style, I shall offer assured fact. Britannia, the largest of the islands known to us Romans, is so shaped and situated as to face Germania on the east, Hispania on the west, while to the south it can actually be seen by the Gauls. Its northern shores, with no lands facing them, are beaten by a wild and open sea. Livy and Fabius Rusticus, the most articulate of older and more recent writers respectively, compared the shape of Britannia as a whole to an elongated diamond or double-bladed axe. Such indeed is its shape this side of Caledonia, and has consequently been attributed to the whole. But when you have crossed over, a huge and shapeless tract of country juts out from what had seemed to be the land's end, and tapers into a kind of wedge. The coast of this remotest sea was at that time first rounded by a Roman fleet. thus proving that Britannia was an island. It also discovered a subdued hitherto unknown islands called the Orcades. Fuel too was sighted by our men, but no more. Their orders took them no farther, and winter was close at hand. But they report that the sea is sluggish and heavy to the oar, and even with the wind does not rise as other seas do. The reason, I think, is that lands and mountains which create and sustain storms are scarcer there, and the deep mass of an unbroken sea is more slowly set into motion. To investigate the nature of the oceans and its tides lies outside my immediate scope, and the matter has been much discussed. I will add just one point. Nowhere does the sea hold wider sway. It carries to and fro massive currents, and in its ebb and flow is not restricted to the coast, but passes deep inland and winds about, pushing in even among highlands and mountains as if in its own domain.